Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Retro Disney World Podcast. I'm your host, Todd McCartney, and this is episode 32.5 entitled Delta Rae, and we're going to be talking to Mike McKee of Delta Rae in just a few minutes. And sitting in with me tonight is Brian Miles. How's it going, Brian?
Greetings from Pennsylvania, the bicentennial state.
Yeah. When's the tricentennial? Do we know?
2076.
Uh-huh.
I will be dead. I will be dead, but you folks enjoy it.
There we go. So.
Because I'd be 102. I'd be 102 otherwise, so I don't think I'll be there.
It's just like last week when we computed that during the next solar eclipse, we're going to be all in our 70s, and it's going to go right through the center of Orlando. So we may have to book now 45 years.
It'll be like Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. None of us will be talking to each other anymore, but we'll be standing 15 feet from each other. There it is. Look at Epcot.
The podcast formerly known as Retro WDW, you know.
Kids will be like, what's a podcast?
Yeah, we just get them beamed. Well, before we get too much into the future, let's talk about what's going on in actually just a couple days from now, right? So sitting in with us tonight, next weekend, sitting in with us tonight is Mike McKee. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Mike is a big fan of Retro WDW, and we connected with him, but more importantly, he is the drummer in the band Delta Rae, and they'll be performing at Epcot's Eat to the Beat concert series this August 31st and September 1st, which is just coming up in a few days. So we wanted to let all of our listeners know, talk a little retro stuff with Mike and how he got into finding us and what some of his old favorites are. And Brian and I both got to meet Mike over the past couple of weeks and see the band play, which was an awesome experience. And so, Mike, welcome, and why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about your background and how you found us and what your interest to old Disney stuff is.
Sure. Well, thanks again for having me. It's a real honor to be on the show. Well, I found this podcast. I was searching through the podcast app for any kind of historical Disney stuff. A lot of the podcasts out now are like new and kind of just, focusing on what's happening right now. And I really wanted to hear some history and stories about how the attractions were built and something that got into the weeds. And then yours popped up, and I was like, this is too good to be true. You guys are talking for 2 hours about the contemporary resort and how the contemporary was made. I was so happy about it. And I'm so glad y'all take your time and get really detailed with everything. And so anyway, I was just doing a general search for it, and I've been spreading the word about your podcast ever since then.
Awesome. Maybe in the band you can come, if you like the contemporary, you can come up with a song called Chest of Drawers for us, right?
Yeah, we'll call it festive. It'll be a fun, like festive drawers, maybe.
Yes,
festive drawers
for the Christmas album.
Absolutely,
for the Delta Rae Christmas album.
Yeah, the Delta Rae Disney. We'll sell dozens of copies. And so I grew up going to the parks. I really grew up with my dad bought our first CD we ever had was the Music of Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, and Epcot Center. It was the black cover. No, that's right. It was the white cover, and it was played in our house all the time. And I thought that was very normal. Like, that was a normal thing to play in your house. Turns out not many people grew up with that. But that
99% of our listeners did grow up with that.
That's true. That's true. So I'm home turf here. And so that was kind of playing around the house a lot. So I was familiar with the park music and the park atmosphere before we even went down there. My first trip was in '89, and then we went again in '93. and several times in the 2000s or so. But my first 2 times was in '89 and '93, and we did Magic Kingdom and Epcot Center on both of those trips for sure.
So you remember Epcot before it really turned that corner into the millennium? And
yes, my older brother is the computer whiz in the family, and he loved it. I really liked it, but I was just too young to really understand what was going on. But I do have memories of Journey into Imagination and Horizons, very, very fuzzy memories of that one. But we grew up with Epcot being kind of the original format.
So Mike, what is your fondest memory of the retro stuff that's out there? Brian, it sounds like he went around the same time as your first visit, right?
Yeah, mine was beginning of '88.
Yeah. So similar time.
So I mean, there's attractions that are still around today. Like some of my favorites are going to be Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. I love that one, and the Pirates and the Haunted Mansion. Those are the classics to me. And my favorites are I guess they would be the non-IP attractions, just attractions for the sake of being attractions. Right. There's no movie to pitch. There's no connection that way. And so to me, that's kind of the retro thing. There's not a whole lot of non-IP attractions anymore.
No, and the ones that were non-IP have been IPized, if you will.
Unfortunately, yes, exactly. Maelstrom's gone. But so there's not one attraction that's kind of retro that's gone now, except for Alien Encounter, if that counts. I don't know if that counts or not as retro. Probably not. But it's gone.
It's gone. So
I grew up enjoying it.
I think it counts because the people who liked it really miss it. And I remember riding it when it was at its scariest.
Oh yeah.
Because we went in '95, and then they kind of softened it a little bit,
right, to
not scare the crap out of people. But it was cool.
Yeah, I loved it. Well, what about y'all? I'm curious. Like, what's when you ask the same question? I ask you the same question. Like, what's your favorite retro attraction? What would you say?
Right. Well, a lot of the ones that we pine for, obviously are closed down and long gone. So a lot of times what I like to do is I go to the park and we still look for remnants of things and whatnot. But if I had to pick an attraction, the one that's still hanging around that at least 90%, maybe 80% is the Land Pavilion. Not that it's my favorite, but the living with the land or listen to the land is really one of the few places that's left that is true original Epcot, albeit loss of some effects and some film changes. And also Spaceship Earth, same thing there. There's, again, loss of a lot of technology and effects in there. But the other parks are, obviously, the Studios is going through massive identity crisis and new names and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so they don't know what's going on over there. But the classic attractions, the 3 that you mentioned, and are really up there in my list.
Yeah. And what about you, Brian?
I missed Journey into Imagination more so than the others, although I missed them all. And Epcot, I don't really, we talked about this in the World of Motion episode. I don't really remember World of Motion. I rode it twice, maybe. And it was closed when I started going on a more regular basis, and Test Track was under construction. So I have vague recollections of certain scenes, but of the attraction as a whole, I don't really remember it. Horizons I rode a bunch of times, and I loved it. Obviously, I rode Ellen's Energy Adventure probably 80 times more than I rode the original Universe of Energy.
Oh, my goodness.
Because that was just the function of when I was going.
Sure.
All my trips fell in the afterlife.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Journey into Imagination is the one that I really miss, because I actually rode Journey into Your Imagination an obscene amount of times for the brief period of time that it was open. And I just the other night happened to watch a video of that ride, because I didn't remember how bad the second iteration. People rip on the third one, and I always tell them, man, I ride it most times now because I like to see Figment, even though I don't particularly care for the Bart Simpson version of Figment that's in there now. But that second version is so bad. and you really have to watch the video if you don't remember how bad it was.
Well, on this upcoming trip, I'll be going on to the attraction as it is now. It's been forever since I've seen it, so I'm sure my memory is so fuzzy. I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, it's nice to see Figment. It's a C-ticket ride. I mean, it's just.
I think the other thing that a lot of people miss, and at least I know at Epcot, is that there's just the feeling that you had walking around the whole Communicore area, and the main thing that was there, the whole thing just had such a different
futurism
feeling.
And exploration and
promise of tomorrow.
Exactly, the positive outlook as to the future, all that, and I miss the attempts to meld the characters both in Future World with the rainbow space outfits and things like that, and then in World Showcase. I mean, they still have Donald in the sombrero as the three caballeros, but in the other countries, I miss the Chip and Dale in their Chinese hats and Goofy with his giant German horn and things like that. That they were neat when they had those characters in the countries.
Now, speaking of World Showcase, Mike, you and I spoke backstage about a week or so ago, and you've got some little interesting tidbits of when you guys played there last year, right? You kind of came in quietly after the park had
we should
closed.
set that up. Mike and his band, Delta Rae, have played in Epcot before in prior years.
Yep.
And they're making a return visit, as Todd said, next weekend. They do I call it like a country rock. Is that a right designation for your band?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great show. I imagine it's going to be great there in World Showcase. And where are you guys playing? The America Gardens Theater? Is that where they put you on?
Yep, exactly. Right across from the American Pavilion. Yep.
And so not a bad seat in the house.
No, it's all great, and the sound system's wonderful. And we loaded in. We drove in behind the facade of the American Adventure, and we loaded in our equipment after hours. So the park was closed, opened up the gates. We wheeled in all of our equipment with a bunch of stagehands. The staff was unbelievable, best staff, and we just put our stuff out. We were carrying my drums across Epcot. The thing that I never ever thought would happen. The fact that I'm playing music full time is just a mind trip, and the fact that I'm playing music full time in Epcot is just, it's unbelievable. So we're loading in my drums. I'm looking around like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And then half my bandmates like, where are we? What is an Epcot? What's an Epcot? What is this? Anyway, and so
how many are there?
Yeah, and when we were driving to the facade area, and we passed by the Illuminations globe, just kind of hanging out, and all these backstage props. I mean, and like it's nothing, like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
And then behind the stage, there's a great green room area, and you can go upstairs and you get a wonderful view of Illuminations. We finished up our last set, and then the nighttime show started, and we had a view which nobody really gets to have because we're on top of the building.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it's in the backstage, just
backstage,
on the
and we go up a flight of stairs, and then there we are.
Really so now those bandmates that were like, "Hey, what's an Epcot?" probably can't wait to go back this year.
We're all very excited. Yeah, I'm selling them. Yeah,
you've made converts of all.
Yeah,
of them.
exactly,
right.
Exactly. And last time I was the chauffeur, especially through Magic Kingdom. That's the park I know the best, and trying to explain about the Force perspective, trying to explain about the architecture of Reassurance, how everything is how you think it's supposed to be, and how there's a feeling of you just missed this guy over here, this thing happened, you just missed it. All these cool stories that are in the architecture, which I feel Magic Kingdom still has. We've lost a lot of things in the other parks, but I feel that Magic Kingdom still has a lot of the original intention and original narrative.
Yeah, there's so much Force perspective and so much theming from one land to the other. It's got, we took the Keys to the Kingdom tour once, and there's tiny little things that you may never recognize, like the small doll in the window in one of the colonial buildings in Liberty Square. And you're right. That type of stuff is just
Yeah,
really wasn't replicated in the other parks as much.
And I appreciate that they haven't messed too much. I mean, like this transitions between the different lands, those are built in to the park, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah, they're part of the landscape and the whole design. So, so what was it like playing in front of the crowds there? And
the crowds were great. A lot of it's like walk-up traffic. We're a pretty new band, especially to the Epcot world. A lot of the bands that play this concert series have been around for quite a while. They've had hits back in the day, and we're the newbies. And I'm very grateful that our booking agent has gotten us these gigs the last 2 years. And he and his family get to come down and have fun with us. But the crowds are great. Everybody's in a wonderful mood. I mean,
well, you're right at that peak moment where no matter which side of World Showcase they start drinking on, by the time they get to you, they're halfway done. So
that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it depends too. We play at 5 o'clock. We have 3 shows, both of those days. We have 3 shows starting from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and they're 3 30-minute shows. So you have lots of opportunity to see the show, and we will be mixing up the set for each of those shows.
Oh, nice.
So if you catch one, you're not going to see the same show again back to back.
Cool, that's
so
great.
So what are
that's
the dates again, just to be clear?
August 31st and September the 1st.
So that's this coming Thursday and Friday for those of you listening to the podcast. Yeah. And then you guys, for our Central Florida fans, are playing Clearwater not long after that, correct?
Yeah, at the Capitol Theater, exactly. And that'll be on September the 4th. We have, oh no, sorry, that's on the 3rd. We have the 2nd off, and we'll be hopping around the parks.
On the 3rd, which is Sunday of Labor Day weekend, they're going to be in Clearwater. And a bonus, for those of you who go to that show, you get to meet Hal Bowers.
That's right, he's going to be there.
Yeah, I'll be meeting the whole gang eventually.
That's right. We just got to get you out to Ohio for JT.
Right.
That's cool. So, is some of the band, like you said, they're kind of getting pumped. Their thoughts turned around. Like, hey, man, this is cool stuff. So, are you schooling them on the rides now and history?
Yes, tastefully. In
small doses.
In small doses. I don't want to bombard them too much. No. But like last year, I was the guide through Magic Kingdom, and I got to show a few things to everybody. And then as days in the park happen, people break away and do their own thing. And I really enjoyed watching everybody break away. Like, oh, I really want to check out this and spend more time here and having fun. I really, really enjoyed watching that. And there's going to be things on this trip that I haven't tried or haven't seen yet. I'm going to check out Pandora over at Animal Kingdom. Haven't seen that yet. And then Brian and I were talking about Hollywood Studios, and I haven't spent too much time just looking at the landscape there. And I think I'll spend some time.
I gave him a strong recommendation, not only on my beloved landscape there around our architecture and all around Echo Lake and the Hollywood and Sunset, but I also gave him a strong recommendation for the Music of Pixar concert that they do every day now in that Hollywood Bowl Theater down where the Beauty and the Beast show usually is, which is just fantastic. If anybody listening hasn't seen it yet and is going to be down there, I mean, it's a full, I don't know how many piece orchestra playing film music for 50 minutes. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds great. And then I think just some general park hopping. There's the highlights you have to hit while you're down there.
Yeah. And then you'll be on the monorail or something with the band. Like, over there is where. Never mind. You guys don't want to know.
You know what?
Just ask me. Just ask. If you have questions, ask me.
Where'd you go?
That's how I am with family. I have to kind of refrain because they may not care.
Right. Exactly. And I'll be like, over there is where they smash the SpectroMagic parade floats, and it'll never come back again.
With sledgehammers.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so that is one of your big. You and I talked about that's one of your big things that you miss.
I guess so. To go back to your older question, what's the retro thing that you miss? That would be it for me. And I really miss that parade a lot.
I think it was a lot of our listeners love the Main Street Electrical Parade, but I have to agree with you. I think SpectroMagic was above and beyond Main Street Electrical Parade, at least in my opinion. And I think key there, you being a musician, I think that piece of music was written, in the late 80s. You would come off the Epcot instrumental music that was so moving and so inspiring. And that piece just worked. It just worked.
It's really great. And I think I was telling you, Todd, that my parents are both piano teachers, and my mom has, for her piano students, for her composition students, she has a series of lessons around Disney park music, well, and soundtracks as well. But SpectroMagic is one of them, and the way the chords flow and it tugs at your heartstrings, there's a tension that those chords create, and she talks about with her students what those chords are and why the relationship between them, and why those Disney songs tend to really make you go, oh, even instrumentally.
Yeah.
You go, oh my gosh, it's just so emotional.
And I don't think they've done that recently until, at least, again, in my own opinion, as I think the new Happily Ever After song does that in a way. It's a little poppy, but they started getting back to the roots. But you're right, they do tug at it. So there's some science behind that. Maybe we'll have you back. You can dissect all the old Epcot music for us.
Oh man, I got homework. Sweet. I'm into it.
I listened to an interview from a few years ago with Ron Logan, who was the head of Disney Entertainment in the parks for quite a number of years. And he was, I saw him speak at Destination D in 2014, and he gave a presentation on the different parades and shows that they had at the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disney MGM Studios that he had worked on. And I'll never forget when he got to SpectroMagic and he's using his PowerPoint and it brings it up and he plays the opening chords of the song. I mean, he talked about 6 or 7 parades that day, but that one just brought everybody in the room to a halt, because it had, I mean, just the best opening chords of any instrumental, and then the whole thing was just, there's no other word for it. It was majestic. The whole parade was majestic.
So yes, wonderful.
And it's the only parade that I miss. I tell anybody who asks me about it, it's the only parade that I miss.
Come on, Brian. We just found another rousing, at least 12 minutes film today of America on Parade.
Well, it's funny because Ron Logan talks about the parades they did before Michael Eisner.
Yeah.
He said he talks about how eclectic they were, and how really they were the product of whoever designed them. And which is why in America on Parade you had walking mustard and ketchup bottles and hamburgers and things, and that once Eisner got there and started pushing the whole idea of synergy and taking their properties, and that as funny as it is to watch a mustard bottle walk by you, people would much rather see Aladdin and the Genie, which is probably accurate, but from a historical perspective, it's certainly interesting to watch some of those older parades. America on Parade, particularly for the witches in the stocks that go by.
That's right. This particular piece is probably the best piece we've ever had of best piece of film of this parade we've ever had. Is the guy has this unobstructed view of the entire parade. They're interacting with the camera. He's on the bridge, I think, between Magic Kingdom and Liberty Square. Not Magic Kingdom. He's on the bridge between the castle and Liberty Square, and I just got it in the mail today and took a look at it. This is a
film we just got. We haven't restored yet. Todd just kind of reviewed it today, so it's months away. But you guys.
The best part is, though, halfway through, this parade appears in the second half of the person's film. In the first half, he recorded the whole thing again, but he had people in the way, so he went back and did it all over again from anher spot. So we have 2 complete versions, one with heads, one without.
Maybe he knew somebody in the parade or something.
Could possibly be. So, well, Mike, I really enjoyed having you on. Hoping that everybody can get out there and see you August 31st and September 1st coming up, 2017. So that is this Thursday and Friday. So you got a great Friday night. You're going to get all the locals coming in. So if you are local to Orlando, come and look for Mike and the rest of the band Delta Rae at the American Pavilion down there in Epcot. And Mike, anything else you want to add in? Anything can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, you have some other cities coming up you want to mention?
Well, we are on the last bit of a. We've been out for about 6 weeks now, straight. We just played Raleigh last night, hometown show in Raleigh last night, and then we head down to Florida. We did the Clearwater show that you mentioned. And then September we're playing at the Exit Inn in Nashville, playing the Gray Eagle in Asheville, North Carolina, and then we're playing I think it's the Music Farm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Nice.
So I know we have lots of fans in the Carolinas. So
You do.
they should head to your website, which is what?
DeltaRae.com.
Let's spell that out for them.
DeltaRae.com. And then we're on the Twitter and the Facebook and the Snapchat and the Instagram. Everything's all at Delta Rae.
And as we close out this show, too, we're going to add in one of your songs. I think if it's okay with you, Mike, we're going to pipe in A Long and Happy Life as we take us out tonight.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, y'all.
And that's one of your newest videos, actually, right? That came out
That's right.
Not too long ago?
That was our first single at Country Radio.
And I love the top hat you're wearing and the coat. Did you get to keep that?
I actually did.
You
Yes. I don't wear it on the regular, but I do own it.
So you guys on the Twitters can follow Mike at Mike McKee Drums, and he keeps you up to speed on their appearances and occasional interactions with our Retro Disney World crowd. And check them out, as he said, on their website. Their music's available on Amazon and iTunes and everywhere else where fine records, tapes, 8-tracks are sold.
So, to all our listeners, thanks for listening. Don't forget to check in relatively soon. We're going to have our next episode published. We're taking you back and looking at some of the old food items. And for those of you, get ready. We're only about 5-6 weeks away from our event at Epcot Center, the Looking Back at Tomorrow. And until then, Delta Rae, take us out.
Knowing I'm so lucky, your broken heart